There's some drama going on at Twitter, now called X, that I thought would be interesting to touch on. This has been reported on, but I'm not just going to tell you what happened. I'm going to tell you what I think is really going on. Elon Musk had an interview with Andrew Ross Sorkin of the New York Times, which was notable in many respects. And for a little background, Elon made some comment in a tweet that was controversial regarding Hamas and Israel that he says he regrets making and that he clarified, though his critics were unrelenting. In addition, an organization called Media Matters highlighted some advertising that was displayed next to offensive content. Either or both of these things have prompted some large companies to suspend advertising on X, including IBM, Apple, Lionsgate, Disney, Paramount, Comcast, Warner Brothers, NBC Universal, Sony, and Walmart. I think I should take a step back even further. When Musk completed the X takeover, he had access to new information that proved that the government was directly involved in removing content and users that the government didn't like. I have inferred from the extensive information provided by X that the government has been and continues to be involved in a similar way with all the biggest social media companies. Elon has objected to this and says that X will not comply with requests like this going forward. So that brings us back to present day and Elon's interview with Sorkin, where Sorkin asks about the advertiser boycott, and Elon says, to anyone that's going to blackmail him with advertising money, he says, quote, "Go F yourself," end quote, and repeats it a second time. When Sorkin asks about the fact that X does, in fact, need advertising revenue, Musk says, quote, "What this advertising boycott is going to do, it's going to kill the company. And the whole world will know that those advertisers killed the company, and we'll document it in great detail," end quote. Later saying, "Let the chips fall where they may." So my title is not clickbait. Elon himself is saying what this advertising boycott is going to do, this boycott that's currently happening, it's going to kill the company. Some people might think that killing the company means it won't exist anymore, but that's not true any more than suggesting a house will no longer exist if the owner can't pay his mortgage. Think of Twitter like a house. When a house is bought, the buyer will pay with either all cash or some portion of cash and money that was borrowed. Just like when someone buys a house, Elon paid with some cash and he also used a lot of debt. That debt created a significant interest burden on the company. Since X is no longer required to make SEC filings, I can't see for sure what the annual interest expense is, but I'm highly confident it's at least $500 to $800 million a year, and it could be a lot more than that. If it gets to the point that Elon can't pay interest on the debt, the company will go into a reorganization process, and, very importantly, the ownership will change. The same way, if a home significantly drops in value and the owner stops paying his mortgage, the house goes into foreclosure and is sold to a new owner. So X won't go away, it will just have new owners. But importantly, if the company goes through a bankruptcy reorganization, Elon is highly unlikely to retain control. If Elon is no longer in control of X, who benefits? Why does the federal government care about social media? I think the government involvement in social media companies was dramatically accelerated after Trump was elected president. In the past, the RNC, the DNC, and the corporate media had very tight control over who could become president. This is the way they want it. Remember when Donald Trump was on the debate stage with something like 12 other candidates in the Republican primary, and he was considered a total joke? The RNC, the media, including Fox News, were very hostile to him. Remember the feud with Fox News reporter Megyn Kelly? Google it if you don't remember. Probably the most important way Trump was able to drive his popularity and ultimately get the RNC and the conservative corporate media on his side was by speaking directly to voters via Twitter. Therefore, I suspect that it was recognized that if there was no control over who could say what on Twitter, then they would lose control over who could be elected president. I think there was a point in this takeover process that Elon, for the first time, deeply understood how involved the government was in, I'll call it, moderating content on Twitter. And given Elon's opposition to that behavior, he understood for the first time that his efforts to make X a free speech platform will put him at war with the government. This is my speculation. I told a friend during the takeover battle that I feared the government will break Musk into doing what they want, or they will ultimately destroy him. But maybe there's a third option: put him out of business. And when X goes through bankruptcy court, it will come out under new ownership, and unless Elon invests a lot of new money to buy it out of a bankruptcy reorganization or prevents it from going bust in the first place. Let's be clear about what we know and what we don't know. We know that Musk made a tweet he says he regrets and clarified, and we know about the Media Matters report. Maybe the advertising boycott is simply about that. I'm layering on top of that this epic battle between Elon Musk versus the federal government. Do I have direct evidence that a powerful government official made a phone call to the CEO of a company and asked him or her to be a good patriot and not advertise on X? No, I don't have evidence of that. However, we do have evidence that the government wants to moderate content on X, and I believe that this is important to them. And Elon says no. So the question is, do you think that this is acceptable to the government? That they'll just say, well, it's a private company and Elon said no, so I guess we'll just have to stop. Personally, I don't think so. I think we're in the early stages of a behind-the-scenes battle that will last for years. Is the hand of government behind this recent drama? I don't know. Check this out.
Do you think Elon Musk is a threat to U.S. national security, and should the U.S., and with the tools you have, investigate his joint acquisition of Twitter with foreign governments, which include the Saudis?
I think that Elon Musk's cooperation and/or technical relationships with other countries is worthy of being looked at. Whether or not he is doing anything inappropriate, I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that it's worth being looked at. But that's all I'll say.
Mr. President, do you think Elon Musk is a threat to national security? If that doesn't sound threatening to you, just imagine replacing Elon Musk's name with your name. Think about how that would make you feel. This clip was from about 1 year ago, November of 2022. I go back to, if X goes bust, who benefits? We must consider that the government entities that were previously moderating content on X would benefit if the company went through a reorg and Musk was no longer running the company. Personally, I doubt any individual is powerful and wealthy enough to ultimately successfully fight the federal government. But Elon's net worth is currently estimated by Forbes at $180 billion. So I think he's willing to take on extremely time-consuming and expensive battles that others wouldn't. And it should go without saying that there is no the federal government. It's made up of many discrete organizations and individuals, but you get the idea. Far from this being a spectacular new insight, I think many people who have been following this believe some version of the speculation I've just laid out, but it's the kind of thing that nobody says. You're surely not going to hear about it in the news because this speculation puts other media in a poor light, because accepting the premise that it's a war between government and Elon Musk raises the question of how much those media companies are influenced by the government, so the media companies don't want to go there. And anyway, Twitter is a competitor to them, so they have an interest to just repeat the top-line talking points that Elon and/or Twitter are simply toxic and bad for everyone, and everyone should stay away. Isn't this drama better than any TV show you're watching? Since I've thought this war between the government and Elon Musk was coming since about a year ago, maybe this is confirmation bias on my part. I don't know, maybe I'm connecting dots that shouldn't be connected. That's it for today. When I'm not pontificating about Twitter, I'm an investment advisor, and if you want help managing your investments, please reach out to me. Talk to you next time.